Всем привет, с вами RiseTalk,
где мы, студенты кафедры промышленного дизайна, говорим с преподавателями и дизайнерами.
You were going to ask this question. So design thinking, if you really look at the technical term, it's actually a very specific way of product creation. So AI will affect product development, and the product development needs will affect AI.
Всем привет, это подкаст RiseTalk о промышленном дизайне. С нами сегодня в гостях прошел. Это шеф-дизайнер Спортмастера и также выпускник британской школы дизайна. Мы сегодня углубимся в разницу между школами, будущее обуви и дизайна, и в целом узнаем больше нового о разных подходах. So, hello, Mark. We'll start from the first segment. It will be about your childhood and how you transitioned to a professional you are. So, at first, what had inspired you to begin artist designer journey? Was it is a particular childhood, adolescent moment, event, or person?
Yeah, so when I was a kid, I was already kind of interested in drawing and art, and there was a TV show that I used to watch back in England as a kid, and it used to teach you kind of tutorials how to draw and different techniques, and so I used to follow that, and it really inspired me to be an. I kind of wanted to be an artist, but I knew like when I started being aware of advertising and design, I kind of felt that graphic design would have been something I would be interested in. And I already kind of knew this I think, at the age of 9 or 10. So I pursued that in school with art classes and then later on design. And it was something I continued to do until graduating and going to university.
Thank you. Wow, sounds very inspirational. Can you a bit deep down there your student life? Where did you study, and were there any other options you were considering?
So I studied in a place which is now called Kent University in England. When I studied there, in fact, it wasn't universities were not really having art courses. So you joined the specific art colleges. So it was an art college, in fact. It was called the Kent Institute of Art and Design. And yes, I studied. It was my second choice. My first choice was actually Central St Martin's, which is in London. It's probably one of the best design schools in London, but it's super difficult to get into. So my second choice was actually the one that I joined, which was, in the end, it ended up being very good for me.
What kind of maybe benefits you found in the first option, the second, that draw your attention by choosing?
Well, the first option, just because it was very well-known college in London for design. But I guess when you join there, there's a lot of pressure on you because you know, like, the reputation that it has and the students and the reputation. But in fact the art college that I ended up studying at, it was also pretty renowned, and it had quite a lot of well-known alumni. And one of the alumni was actually the guy on the TV show that I used to follow as a kid. So that was kind of ironic.
So kind of a significant moment. So,
Yeah.
okay, is there a student project you would like to share with us, or you're still proud of?
Yeah, actually, so I studied graphic design, and one of the specialities in graphics was typography. So I was
Mhm.
really into typography because I felt like that we read letters every day, and how you design those letters can really subtly persuade people in different moods and different ways to read. So I actually ended up designing a typeface myself. and I was very much inspired like by old medieval typefaces. So I was actually creating typeface similar to these typefaces, and so it was very interesting learning about font creation, which is actually an ancient kind of speciality in graphics, printing, typography.
Does this background helps you to approach to shoe design? Do you somehow use all of the educational moments you've been studying?
Um, I cannot say specifically that anything from graphics. Maybe something specific from graphics into footwear design. We do use graphics on footwear. Actually, we design labels on the tongues. We design graphics on the insoles on the inside of the shoes.
Hmm.
But I suppose maybe I have a different eye at looking at things because my career path started in graphics, then it went into product design, and then into
Hmm.
footwear design. So I guess I have a bit more of a rounded view of design, and I bring that to my footwear design as well. So I guess I have a different eye that I bring to footwear design. Maybe it influences a little bit and how I look at the lines or how I look at the colors on footwear.
Okay, was there a specific shoe design that you put the typography as the different character into? Like it played the main role, maybe?
Not really. I cannot really say anything specific about typography use in footwear. Although, of course, when it comes to maybe sometimes designing labels or insoles, I'm quite yes. I like designing logos. So
Hmm.
if we come up with a new technology, sometimes I enjoyed like designing logos for those technologies, which would be used on the shoes. So I suppose that is part of my background as a graphic designer and
Hmm.
typography.
Okay, and what exactly drew your attention into the product design? What was the transition? And we're exploring any other fields and trying your capacities?
I think that how I ended up in product design was kind of an accident because I started to work. So my first real full time job as a designer was in Hong Kong. I moved there after graduating from our college, and I found a job with a company that was making electronic goods like for treadmills, consoles for the treadmills.
Hmm.
So all the graphics that you see on these consoles was what I was creating. But this company was also creating like some sports products like watches, which were connecting to heart rate monitors. So for sports like runners. And they were also producing pedometers. These were many years ago, they were like counters for steps. So you could wear them on your body and they
Hmm.
counted like steps when you were walking or running. So
Hmm.
I ended up getting into designing those, and it was just because I was given the opportunity. So I started designing these watches and started designing these pedometers, and I found that I actually had quite a good eye for product design, although I wasn't formally trained in it. It was something I kind of felt naturally um, able to do.
Hmm.
So I was kind of lucky, and yeah, of course, I was very open at the beginning of my career. I was very open to any kinds of design-related opportunities. So I wasn't just going to stay. Oh no, I just want to stay in graphic design. Of course, I was happy to try and experiment in different fields. And so the next step from graphics was the product design, and of course,
Hmm.
after that, footwear design.
Okay, and how long did it take time to move to Russia to become a chef designer? What was your journey of all of the career ladder?
Wow. I I changed into footwear design when I was 30. So it was kind of a career change, big career change. I was a manager for a team in product design in that company, and then I went from being a manager to a junior designer in footwear design. But I was happy to do that because I knew that it was something really new. So that company was based in Hong Kong. It was a sports shoe company, and they were producing for the Russian and Eastern European markets. So that was like early 2000s, and I was then taking some trips to Russia. And I came like 4 times a year, so I got quite familiar with the Russian market. And long story short, I left that company after about 7 years, and I went to work for a French company, and then some other Chinese companies. And it was actually a brand that I worked for in China that wanted to relaunch into Russia. They heard about my experience, and they asked me to help them. So I worked with them for 1 year to reintroduce some of their products into Russia, more specific for the Russian market. And it was then from there that Sportmaster, I guess I knew some people in there, and they also invited me to start working. But I was more starting as a consultant, so I was still based in Hong Kong, coming to Russia sometimes, and then it turned into a full-time job. So I guess through my career, especially in footwear design, is always had links to Russia sometimes. So Russia always pulls me back.
Fantastic. Yeah. Okay, moving to Russia always also, what had surprised you the most about Russian school design? You had mentioned that also you had been working with other foreign specialists, for example, Chinese and
Mm.
your classmates back in UK. Maybe some hallmarks between every school you can picture.
Um, yeah, it's a good question. I mean, so I've worked with different countries and different nationalities, uh, including Chinese, including Russians, actually including French and Americans. So I see a little bit difference in different approaches to design. Um, More specifically to your question, like about maybe Russian design and universities. So I think that I was a bit surprised that, for example, when I graduated, we were given a lot of support from
Hmm.
our professors and tutors, preparing us for any interviews that we were going to do for work after graduating. And they would coach us through our portfolios, and they would really do a lot of work to help us to get through these interviews. Um, when I came to Russia, I had interviewed quite a few students from different universities, and I noticed their portfolios were really not that well presented, and it surprised
Hmm.
me. Um, I don't want to name the universities, but I did notice that there was maybe a lack of support for students after graduating, and like preparing them for, apart from teaching them how to design, but actually preparing them for going out into the big world and interviewing and getting jobs. However, I was lucky enough to get in touch with Stieglitz, and I felt this was one of the strongest universities that was actually more interested in their students after studies, after graduating. So it was with because of I knew this, and because of I wanted to help students, because I remember being a student. That's why I got in touch and started working with Stieglitz to help the students think about what future careers, and presentations. So we've done it also with some other universities here in Moscow, and it was really driven because of this the the experience I'd had with interviewing some fresh graduates.
Hmm. Okay, so sort of, it's also important for the university prepare the future specialists for a
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, yes, that would be the perfect transition for our next segment about Sportmaster and
Mhm.
the basic just life here and some
Mm.
details for the future specialist and the company who would like to also join all
Mhm.
of the sport department. Для наших русских зрителей дизайн обуви — это место, где встречается эстетика и эргономика. Мы узнаем, как балансировать более корректно между креативностью, каким-то шоу и бренд identity. Нам важно узнать, что же и как строится это в спортмастере. So right now it's really important for us to dig into the balance between creativity, performance, and brand identity. First question, like, just tell us about about Sportmaster in general and footwear design in particular.
Mhm. So Sportmaster, obviously very well known in Russia. Selling a sports shop, selling multiple brands, not only international brands, but also we have our own brands. And I would say they started out as just maybe these brands were. I think we started out with one or two brands, and they were to fill the gap where maybe international brands were not. Um, Filling some areas for consumers, maybe price wise, maybe uh, design wise. So obviously, Sportmaster started doing its own brands to fill those gaps. And today, in fact, it's grown a lot. We have about 14 brands. And so we have footwear design, we have apparel design, we have equipment design. But on footwear, which obviously I manage, yeah, we have 14 brands, and I think we're now about 70% of the sales in Sportmaster with our own brands. So we have, since I joined, we have concentrated a lot on the brand identity for each of these brands. We've concentrated a lot trying to enhance the design language of each of these brands so that they become sort of recognizable brands. Design language is a subtle tool that you use to make people understand that this is a family of product. It belongs to a brand, that it has its beliefs. The brand has its values, and you should try and translate that into the design of the product. So that's what we've kind of uh, been developing in the last few years, and I'd like to say that we've achieved that in some of our brands. That you can see some recognizable character in our brands. So uh, it's become a very important part of Sportmaster's portfolio now.
Can you a bit clarify about the values of the company for the people who haven't maybe dig into this topic, and about 14 brands you've mentioned? Also, what kind of brands, what niches do they take? Some a bit more information.
Yeah, so Sportmaster is really about providing sports to everyday people. Yeah, so Sportmaster, we're not elite. We're not trying to be, for only elite athletes. We're about giving sports to accessibility of sports to everyday people. Yeah. Obviously, our brands are all on that spectrum in different categories. So of course, we've got our biggest brand, I would say, is Demix. It's our main sports brand. I think it's our oldest brand. We even have Demix standalone stores. And Demix is a very good example of this philosophy of making sports accessible to everybody. So Demix, we have a product range from running, even very top level running with carbon plates, all the way to very casual shoes at the more affordable price segment. We cover a lot of areas just with that brand. And then, of course, we have outdoor brands, which are more, I would say, specific for the Russian market in terms of the needs. And for example, we know Russian winter can be pretty harsh, and especially in some of the northern regions. And so, of course, we provide product for those needs.
And how do you balance this functionality and style? Is there any particular formula for this for be appealing to athletes and the fashionistas as well?
We obviously have different segments for those different consumers. So for professional athletes, of course, we have, as I mentioned, some very high performance running shoes. And then for a fashionista, we have the more lifestyle product, where we are really following the global trends of sneaker wear. And in the last sort of 5 years, 7 years, even more, the mix between fashion and sports has become very, very, very important. People wear sneakers more than they do formal shoes. And so, sportswear has become a very, very hot product category, not only on footwear but also on clothing. So we provide everything in between, from high end or performance running, football boots, to everyday sneakers that you could look cool in and go to meet your friends with and be proud to wear on the street because you're on trend, right? So that's what we do. Everything in between.
Okay, sounds perfect. Could you please tell us more about the chain of production? What kind of departments are being involved in the footwear department, of
Mhm.
course, from paper concept to working plan? How long does it take?
Yeah, so I would say that basically what the model that we have is pretty much similar to most global sportswear brands. So basically four main departments that work on the footwear. So you have the brand managers who are in charge of like thinking about the business, what kind of products we need, at which price points. Then you have the designers. They brief the designers, and designers obviously create. They research the trends. They create the designs based on the briefs, and then we pass those designs to our developers, development department, who then work with
Mhm.
our suppliers in Asia to first of all make the samples, and after the, let's say, the development phase, where we see several rounds of samples, we correct them, we work together with all those teams to get the result that we want. Then it's passed to production, and so the production department
Mhm.
managing the whole production of the footwear and delivery to our stores in Sportmaster. That time frame, I think, from the very time we kick off the new season um, until the product's in store is about 2 years. So it's quite
Yes, so
it's quite
everything
a
in advance.
long process. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, and how is it possible to predict what kind of trends and what kind of demand will be of the customer?
I knew you were going to ask this question. So yeah, that's the challenge, right? So we have to think about what the trends are now and how long do we think those trends are going to last.
Mhm.
Do we think that some trends are like at the peak, and so another 2 years they will be on the way down?
Mhm.
Um, I think that we spend a lot of time research. We have multiple tools like trend services, but also we ourselves we visit markets around the world, and
Mhm.
we basically make our own sort of, I guess, educated opinion about what we think will be happening in 2 years, and we try to create product for that.
Mhm. Is it like a whole responsibility of the whole department or only of the brand managers, of designers, development area?
It's on that part. It's a lot to do with the brand management and design. So
Mhm.
we often will travel together, those two functions,
Mhm.
to trade shows, exhibitions, and visit retail around different parts of the world. But development, they also can help by they maybe on the development side, like in the factories, if there's a new technology or a new trend that's happening in manufacturing,
Mhm.
they also can give us some updates. For example, many years ago, there was the trend for knitted uppers. So basically very simple for running, for lifestyle shoes that were totally knitted from knitting machines. Yeah, so you didn't have too much stitching, not too many pieces. It was just engineered. We call it engineered knitting,
Mhm.
and that was a trend that we saw not only in the market coming, because I think Nike were the first people to do this, but also from the manufacturing in China. We were given some examples from factories like, we are now making this new knitted technology. This is
Mhm.
what you can do with it. And of course, we saw that and thought, it's very interesting. And so we were able to use that in some of our products. So, of course, brand management, design, looking at the trends. on the market, but also developers are looking at the trends that's going on in manufacturing as well.
Okay, I got you. Thank you very much, Vance. And also, it'll be a very perfect transition for us to the next segment, design thinking and the future. For our Russian followers, мы передвигаемся к части про дизайн-мышление, обсудим, как же дизайн направляется в будущее и как может становиться более инициативным, полон технологий и также более зеленым. Мы посмотрим, как же в этом случае поступает спортмастер. So it's really important for us to find out how, in the era of fast fashion, such brands of sportwear, footwear might also pick a better philosophy in the trends to not only became trendful in 2 years or maybe a year less, but maybe create a new generational idea of the footwear.
So I think it's important to distinguish fast fashion from. So we're not a particular fast fashion retailer, yeah, not like you know about Zara kind
Mhm,
of companies. So they're definitely fast fashions. They take the trends and they bring it to a level more affordable, and they do it very, very quickly.
mhm,
We have some programs like that where we see a trend, maybe we missed it, and we try to implement it quickly, and we can do that, but it's only for a few styles. We don't do that for the whole range. Um, However, it is important. I think the next uh, development in design and development and manufacturing for us is to shorten that development time. We want to be closer to the market, like the time that we are releasing to the products into the market. We want to be closer to that time because, of course, it's efficient if you're like this. So I think that's the next development in Sportmaster, but many other brands as well that they're doing this. I think that in terms of development into the what products are going to come, and I think there's there's a lot of development in running.
mhm,
If I'm now talking specifically about product, yeah, there's a lot of development in running with now carbon plates, foams. So we do a lot of research into what kind of foams and technologies we can use into our running shoes. We've, as I mentioned, we started doing a carbon plate shoe for running. That is very much in trend right now, and I think it's in the running market. There's definitely going to be a lot of development into the thickness of the soles, the kind of foams that they're using, and the kind of other materials that they're going to use in the shoes. And this
mhm,
stuff also influences the lifestyle. So lifestyle, it gets its inspiration from the performance, but it trickles down over the years. So, for example, if we've used the new foam in our running, after maybe 1 or 2 seasons, we might use that in our lifestyle shoes to give extra benefit or comfort to our consumers. So we link the two categories.
mhm. Okay, I got you. Besides the shortening the development duration, what other ideologies the Sportmaster will be thinking about in 10 years, maybe 5 years? What ideologies Sportmaster pursuing?
I think the big move for us is number one into digital. Um, so everything digital. So digital product creation
Mhm,
and also digital sales. So online sales, of course, it's nothing new, but it's continuing to be a big part of our business. And also, yeah, in general, in Russia, the retail market is changing quite rapidly. So to online sales and many players coming in who are becoming quite big. Of course, everyone knows about Wildberries and La Moda and all these guys are very big players in also sports products. So I think those are going to be the big topics for the next 10 years, definitely 5. And digital creation, as I said, for design, for and maybe even for development, yeah, definitely in development in next 5, 10 years. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Also, I think it's important to mention that sportwear giants are embracing sustainability. And
Mm.
how do you incorporate sustainable environment by rethinking materials, production
Mhm.
that is used in the shoe design?
Yeah, we had quite a drive into sustainability a few years ago. We definitely were looking at materials that were more sustainable, so recycled content in them or produced in sustainable ways. I have to say that when it impacts price, then we have to be careful, and it does sometimes impact price. To use a recycled material can be more expensive, and so
Mhm.
it's up to the Russian consumer. Yeah, so if the consumer is interested in sustainability and if it's important for them, then they will spend that extra money on those products. And so far, we've seen maybe in the last couple of years, it's not a big priority for the consumers of Sportmaster.
Mhm.
Not everywhere, yeah. Maybe in Moscow, St. Petersburg, large cities, I think people are more aware of that. But in some other cities and regions, maybe not so much. It's not a big priority. Will it be a bigger priority in the future? Yes, I think so. So of course we need to pay attention to that and react to it. So we still try to use some sustainability or sustainable materials in some of our products and try to not make it impact price too much.
Mhm. Okay, and maybe could there be some other phases between the 100% sustainability and the full recycle process for the customers and companies as well? The company dictate the rules, how to get used to how to engage the customer into the processes like that? Because of course it's not like one day change. It's supposed to change the generational mindset.
So yeah, I think your question is how does the consumer know about this and how it's like how do we make them aware of this on our products, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so of course, as I mentioned, if we are using some, and if we do, then we talk about that on our products. For example, one of our brands that we are using, it's one of the outdoor brands. We're using some recycled products. Of course, we speak about that to the consumer, and we want to let them know that this is kind of a benefit, and of course, then it's up to them if they would wish to buy this. If it's a little bit more expensive, then they need to choose if that's beneficial for them. That's a value that they have, and they will buy that. But of course, we need to speak about it as well to the consumer. So we talk about it maybe on the website, or we talk about it on the product itself. To make them aware that this is sustainable or using sustainable materials.
I got you. Thank you. What is design thinking for you? Let's change a bit the topic. And what have you brought up and set up in the working process since you became a chef designer in Sportmaster?
Well, design thinking, if you really look at the technical term, it's actually a very specific way of product creation. It's not just design. So, design thinking also is about. We actually did some courses for our designers and brand managers in design thinking. So it's about letting go of all your prejudices about what you think you know already, and
Hmm.
totally starting with a white piece of paper and trying to understand what the consumer really needs and wants. And you create a product based on that. So, of course, if we're doing footwear business for a long time, we have our preconceptions. How we think this is going to be a trend. It's our job to do this. But sometimes we need to really understand just what the consumer wants. And so, design thinking is a kind of a process to do that. Um, we balance the two. I would say now we obviously want to give the consumers what they want, and sometimes the consumers don't know what they want. I think it was um, Apple, um, not Jonathan Ive, but Steve Jobs, who
Hmm.
said that he famously never used focus groups for consumers because he felt that he knew what consumers wanted 5, 10 years down the road. they didn't know what they wanted. So he was like a visionary. He could say, and he came up with the iPod, and he knew that people wanted to put, or that they were going to want to put, 1,000 songs on their iPod, that device. That was 2001. But it wasn't a demand from consumers. That was something that he created. So we balance the two. We do use focus groups. We do engage with our consumers to find out if something is working or they like something. But we also have to balance that with our opinions about what we think will be the coming trend and need in sportswear. So that's what we basically balance, those two things. What has changed since I came in? I think it's not only me, of course. We in the last 5 years we brought in a lot of experts as we've grown our own brands. We brought in a lot of experts from other brands who have given us best practices in the industry. So from design, obviously working with some of the very good brand managers and development team. They're also giving us best practices. So I would say we've improved a lot in terms of our product creation, development, and production in the last 5 or more years. Yeah.
Okay, and what exactly design schools can do to contribute in the design thinking, product development, or future generation of specialists?
I think it's the design schools first. It's really important you're getting the foundation of design in design school, right? So you need to really do teach the students about researching the consumers needs. Then
Hmm.
you balance that with design history, so you understand what's been done, what were the major innovations in design in last, I don't know, even 100 years, and then the aesthetics. To obviously teach what is aesthetically pleasing, form and function is still very important. So you, in a design school, you need to give all those foundations. And I think towards the end of your studies as a student, then you need to be exposed a little bit to the real world. And I
Hmm.
think obviously that's what we try to do with Stiglitz in Sportmaster, is to work with the students to make you guys understand, like, this is what happens in the real world. You need to use your training in design thinking, and form and function, and how does that apply to the consumer's needs and real world products. So I
Hmm.
think those are the important things that the universities need to do. So it's good to have connection for the universities with industry.
Hmm. During these workshops, for example, in the Stiglitz Academy and the other schools, what skills do you mention instantly at the very beginning of the origin of the design of the future specialist to kind of see that it's going to be a really good footwear designer?
Well, so there's different values that you can come to be a footwear designer. You can be a sports footwear designer, and it's really about problem solving. So how do you make a better running shoe or a better training shoe? Then there's the fashion aspect, and then those designers tend to be a lot more skilled in trends, color, materials. Yeah. So we get both kinds of designers. So when we work with industrial design or transport design, we're really focused. Those kind of students are very good at problem solving. They research a lot about how they can improve something, or the needs and the functions. And so I think a lot of these students, you can see they thinking in this way, they will make very good performance sportswear designers. So as I said, running shoes or training shoes or soccer shoes. And you can see from the students their thinking and how deep they're going into the research, how good a footwear designer they would be.
Hmm. And what skills will be essential in 5 years from now that are not currently prioritized? Maybe some technology-oriented students, other software or soft skills?
Well, I think that it's really important as a student now to grasp all all skills. So first of all, as a designer, you need to have the hard skill of being able to sketch.
Mhm.
Okay, this is still really important, at least for me, to be able to sketch your ideas. Um, then, of course, to use and be trained in multiple softwares. Okay, these
Mhm.
are all hard skills that you need. But now, of course, you need to be skilled in use of AI, and this is going to be the most important thing in the future because
Mhm.
and I know that students are aware of it and using platforms such as Viscom. This technology is developing very rapidly, and my concern is that it will be used by people who are not designers.
Mhm.
And I think it's very, very important for design students to be very skilled in all these, from your hand skills, sketching, your CAD skills to your digital skills. I mean, digital AI skills. It's going to be super important because if you guys don't, someone else will do it instead of you. And in fact, they might do a bad job because you guys have got the training as a design student to know what is good design and what should work.
Okay, and what Spotmaster's restrictions in the using of AI? What processes and stages of development is AI involved in? What particularly you're trying to use it as an extra tool?
Yeah, Sportmaster is very forward thinking in this way. In fact, we have a very clear goal from our top management to use in artificial intelligence in especially in creation, product creation. Right now we're using it only in design, I would say. Well, I could be wrong. Maybe our IT departments for sure maybe looking into uses of AI in other areas. But as far as I know, we are using it in design, especially at the beginning of the start of the design season, because you can create and ideate a lot of things. It allows you to quickly ideate. So we use it a lot at the beginning of the design season. We still go into Illustrator at the end because we're still creating like very precise tech packs, but that will change. And I think the the yeah the, we will probably find even more uses of AI in the future. I think the next thing we will want to look into is the automatic coloration, because apart from designing new products, we carry over some products. Yeah, we make they don't just survive one season. If one shoe might survive several seasons, and you might do new materials or new colors. So we have I have like a department of design, color material designers, and I'm looking at AI tools that can help make them work very fast, and basically speed up their jobs, make their jobs efficient. So any areas that we see which can be slightly automated or improved by AI, we will definitely look into.
Mhm. I will also ask you to elaborate the topic you also have mentioned for just right now. Will AI affect the product development, or the product development will affect AI? Or just a bit philosophical one?
Yeah, I think it's both, right? So AI will affect product development, and the product development needs will affect AI. So uh, if you talk with some AI companies that are creating a AI tools, they want to engage with companies because they want to understand what needs there are. Yeah,
Hmm.
so they can tailor their tools for these needs. So I think it will be two-way street.
Just like a collaboration.
Mhm.
benefit of everybody. Okay, thank you. This is the end of the segment of design
Mhm.
thinking, and now we're looking forward for the last one, the blitz segment. Just fast question. If you need to elaborate something, you're welcome. We will be happy. Для наших зрителей сейчас мы переходим к сегменту Blitz. Быстрые ответы, быстрые вопросы. Зададим Марку главные вопросы, уже более широкие, чтобы узнать получше. Okay, so your favorite design of all time?
My favorite design of all time.
Yeah.
In footwear or anything.
Doesn't actually matter. What inspires you? It could be top three if you kind of.
I think my favorite design of all time was the iPod, the first one, the first generation, 2001, and I bought one. I still have one. I have a small museum of Apple products on my shelf, like Apple MacBook Air, MacBook, and iPod, and some old iPhones. iPod, I think, was really a revolution. It's a super simple design. It's got all Apple's philosophies in terms of design. That means simple, easy to use. And it looks amazing.
Totally, it was, and it does still. What is the most iconic and influential shoe design?
Iconic. Like, can it be one of Sportmasters?
Sure.
Iconic. Difficult for. I think one of iconic shoe. There's lots, and it depends on each era of decade. I think one of them is in fact the Puma Speed Cat, because it's now back in trend. In fact, so of course trends
Because
are always regurgitating, right? They're coming back around. Speed Cat was like 2000s. It's actually designed as a motor racing shoe, but because it's very sleek, it became super popular. It was on everybody's feet because it's kind of sleek, it's comfortable, of course. And Puma really owned that trend. And that was when Puma was at the height of its popularity. It was a very, very fashionable sports brand, I can say, at that time. And that particular shoe was very iconic. And as I said, it's come back around now. It's in trend a lot. So Puma Speed Cat, you guys can Google it.
Okay, thank you. And what if we will pick from every decade one iconic shoe design from Sportmaster, like 2010s, 20s?
Well, it's difficult for me to say on that. Actually, we have some very iconic styles that have we continue to make them. One of them is called Astro. It's a football inspired shoe, like it's football indoor. It's now in one of our brands called GSD. It's been around for many years, and it just continues to sell. I think another iconic shoe. I want to say iconic. It was one of the first shoes that we created. We really made a performance running shoe, and we used very good foams. And it's called the Demix Spectre. It's now on its fifth generation, but the first one was it was iconic for us because it was really our first step into properly performance running shoes.
Okay. A most overrated trend in design right now.
Overrated.
Overrated. Is there any?
Actually, maybe I can use an example of before. I don't know. I was talking about knitting. Like there was, or engineered knit was a massive trend about 7 years ago in footwear, but also in apparel, because it was like even sustainable because you were not stitching or not gluing many pieces onto the shoe, and it was just an engineered knit sock, and it became a big trend. And I thought everyone thought that was going to be the future of footwear design, and it ended up not being because the trends go around, and the trend now actually is very much busy shoes with many pieces, lots of stitching. So actually, that was an overrated trend. You still see a lot of knitted shoes, and because they're very cool and functional, but it's not the big trend that it was supposed to be.
Okay. What sport inspires you the most in your design work? Maybe the
Running,
one practices running.
running for sure. It's always been the most interesting category for me to design. I run, so that's probably why. I specialized in part of my career in a running brand in Decathlon. I worked in Kalenji, which is their running brand. So I was quite deep into running then. And even outdoor running, so trail running and running in mountains also is very interesting for me. And designing those products is very inspirational for me.
Is it important to be a part of a particular sport you are designing shoe for to be a better designer?
Yes, I would say yes. It's not always the case because um, for sure, there have been designers, very famous designers, in fact, that designed shoes that were not maybe participating in those sports. So it's not a must, but it definitely helps.
Okay. The best soft skill for a designer.
Sketching. Soft skills. Sorry.
Mhm.
Um, Soft skill communication, because you need to, once you get out into working in companies, you need to be able to deal with people. As a designer, you got to deal with criticism, and that's
Mhm.
one of the hardest things when you're a new designer in the industry and working in a company, and people, you poured your heart and soul into a design, and then people pick it apart. That can be tough. So you need to deal with that, and you need to self-criticize, and then be able to fight for your design if you believe in it, but do it in a good way. So I think the term now is emotional intelligence, to be able to understand people's emotions, how they are reacting to your designs. Think about your own reaction and be able to communicate in a good way.
Is it important ideology in a corporate lifestyle to establish bonds between the colleagues to get along them better for a future better process of development?
Always helps. I mean, if you don't, you have to get along with your colleagues, and it helps if you're working in a team. Of course, there's always conflict, and that's fine. Sometimes conflict, a little bit of conflict is okay. But of course, it's always good to get along with your colleagues because,
Mhm.
basically, uh, as a designer, I'm reliant on my development colleagues to help make the product, or I'm reliant on the brand manager to like my designs, and then understand, like, if we're doing a good job together. So of course it helps if you get along. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Solve today's problems or strive for the future?
Sorry, say again.
Solve today's problems or strive for the future?
Or both.
Both.
You
So
need
how
to
do
solve
you
today's
develop?
problems, but you also want to strive for tomorrow, the future.
Mhm. Okay. Minimalistic design or futuristic solutions?
Maybe futuristic can be minimalist.
Sure, it does actually. Okay. What is your biggest dream?
Biggest dream?
Mhm.
To retire and keep designing on a beach in somewhere in paradise.
Wonderful. Your design motto in 3 words.
My say again.
Motto, credo.
Credo. Uh, I'm not one for big philosophy credos, but I guess to always stay positive in your job and in your design. You don't allow to be negative. So I always say stay positive.
Okay. Any last words for all of our viewers, applicants, future interns, and specialists? Something.
Yes, I just want to say, if you guys are interested in joining our future programs, workshops, please stay in touch. We're always happy, not only me, but the company, Sportmaster is happy to work with students because we know you guys are the future. So, yeah, if you guys are interested, hey, not only footwear, right? We've got other departments like equipment and apparel. So those are other areas. So, broaden your horizons. There are possibilities in your careers.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you very much for sharing such perfect ideology experience with us. We
Thank
always
you.
wanted to hear with you keep in touch. So yeah, thank you. Спасибо, что посмотрели этот выпуск. Продолжайте подписываться, смотреть. Мы будем привлекать все больше и больше интересных гостей. Всем пока. Goodbye, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.